Today we're gonna make delicious and incredibly simple breakfast cookies that are perfect for breakfast, but also after school snacks or any time of the day snack. And you can make it to suit so many dietary requirements. So let's get into it. To start off with, you wanna preheat your oven to 325 and you'll want a baking sheet lined with parchment paper or a baking mat or something. We're gonna start off with mashing some bananas, about a cup. So you need a bowl. We're gonna use one bowl to do it all, so make it a bigger one. I feel like I'm gonna use 3 bananas and I'm not gonna measure because I'm crazy like that. And that's just my vibe. You could totally measure. We're going for about a cup of ripe bananas. These are ripe. I'm gonna have to wash my hands because that's a whole feeling. All right, let's smash these babies up. What I love about this idea is it's kind of like granola almost, but it's a grab and go situation. So if you're busy or if you want your kids to have something that they eat on the go, this is a great option. I think this is gonna be like a little bit more of a cup and a half, but it's close enough. It's all good. These are naturally gluten-free. They're incredibly low in sugar, and you can add in all your favorite things. Today, I'm gonna be experimenting with some stuff, and you're gonna be hanging out with me for it. So the next thing we're gonna add is a full cup of nut or seed butter of your choice. My kids would prefer peanut butter for sure, but my husband and I are a little bit more into almond butter. So I'm going with almond butter. Kids are gonna love it. They're gonna be so excited. If you tell a kid they can have a cookie for breakfast, they're fired up. I'm just making a mess. That's how I roll. Okay, I'm gonna really mix this together because I don't want big clumps of almond butter. That's not the vibe I'm going for. I'm using half a cup of pure maple syrup. You could experiment with using less or more, I guess, if you wanted. But this is really the only sweetener. Now I'm gonna add 2.5 cups of gluten-free organic oats. That's gonna make everything stick together. It's like a miracle. And 1/3 cup of coconut, shredded coconut, unsweetened. I love adding coconut to things because I don't know, I just love the flavor. Oh, I'm also gonna add in a teaspoon of cinnamon and a pinch of salt. This is like, some people would do this in 2 different bowls, but I'm just not gonna. Trying to keep the dishes on the DL. So you want this batter to be sticky, but not too wet. So because I got a little carried away with the banana, I might add in, I think I'm gonna add in 1/2 cup more of oats. I'm gonna do that. First, I'm gonna drop some on the floor. What I do love about gluten-free baking or this style of baking is it does take a little bit of practice and getting used to. It takes a little bit of changing your brain and like this is not gonna be like a chocolate chip cookie or whatever, but it's so forgiving. You can be like, that's a little bit not quite right. I'm gonna add in a little extra oats and it's gonna be perfect. So that looks good. I'm gonna set this aside and we're gonna add in some flavory stuff. So I am going to add in 1/3 cup of nuts. You can use a variety of nuts. You could add in seeds as well. I'm going with pecans today. Pecans? Pecans? I'm not sure. Someone will correct me. Because that's what I feel like today. Feels fancy. But use your favorite, whatever you want. The bananas, obviously, are gonna go so good with walnuts, so that'd be an amazing option. Pecans today. Pecans. So just roughly chopping those and adding them into the bowl. I don't want them to be too small because I like the idea of like coming across a chunk of pecan. And then I'm gonna use 1/3 cup of dried fruit. So I have some raisins and some juice sweetened cranberries and some apricots. And you can tell that these are unsulfured because they're crazy color, but the flavor of them is so good. So don't be alarmed by this kind of weird looking thing. But I'm gonna chop these apricots up because they're way too big, as they are. Maybe I'll chop up some of these other fruits. Now, at this point, you could totally add in a tablespoon or 2 of chocolate chips. But I do have a chocolate version of this. So maybe I'll try and link that in the show notes and you can see how to make these chocolate delight versions. Okay, in that goes. We're just gonna stir it in. It just kind of looks like oatmeal chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin cookie dough. It smells delicious. Okay, so that's stirred up. You don't gotta get crazy with it. I'm gonna clean this up a bit, get my baking sheet. We're gonna measure this out. I feel like I might need 2 baking sheets for it, but maybe not. And then we'll pop them in the oven. All right, so we have our baking sheet lined with parchment paper. You could oil your baking sheet if you wanted. I'm keeping life a little bit as easy as possible whenever I can. So I'm gonna use a tablespoon to just scoop this out. If you have one of those cool scoopy things, do it. I just don't have one. Don't ask me why. I don't know what's happening there. So I'm just gonna plop these down. They're not gonna rise or anything, but I still wanna give ample space between each cookie so that there's room for them to cook evenly. You don't want to pack them in too tight. Now, once you get comfortable with making something like this, what's so fun about it is you can really vary this to your preferred taste. You can substitute seed butter would be a great option, and seeds if you wanted to send them to school as a healthy school snack and your kids aren't allowed to bring nuts to school. Obviously peanut butter is going to be good. I feel like tahini would be a really good option. If I did tahini, I might actually put a little bit of chocolate chips in because that's a combination that's just a good time. Obviously, whatever nuts and seeds you love, throw them in there. Get crazy. You can see how the oats have really soaked up a lot of liquid, which is kind of what you want. You don't want them to be too runny. And then I am going to mush them down, but I think I'm going to get a fork for that because there's just too much surface on this spoon for it to stick to. And I'm going to have to do a second little batch. I got 3 cookies that aren't going to fit on this. Why does that happen? I feel like every time. Oh, what are you going to do? Okay. Hold on. I'm going to get myself ready. You need to see me do this part. The goal, of course, is to make them all as similar in size as possible. So these weird little buddies, just put those aside. Those poor things. We're gonna work with these. So I'm gonna flatten them out. And this is just gonna help them cook through a little bit better. These are so easy to make as well that they're fantastic for kids to learn how to make. My daughter loves making these kinds of cookies. Sometimes she does the chocolate ones, but it's really fun and super easy, and there's not really a lot that can go wrong. All right, I'm gonna pop these in the oven, which has been preheated to 325. I think for about 18 to 20 minutes. You wanna pay attention to if they start to smell really strongly. That's usually an indication that they're done or really close to done. They're hard to over bake, but it can happen, let me tell you. So I'm gonna put them in the oven. I'm gonna set the timer for 18 minutes. I'm gonna check it and we'll go from there. All right, these babies are done. They smell amazing. So we want to let these cool completely. I would transfer them to a wire rack in about 10 minutes or so to just let them cool so they don't get too moist. And then I'm going to show you how to have them as a beautiful breakfast or snack or whatever. All right? Once these have cooled down for about 10 minutes, they should be good to go. I do like to, after a few minutes, give them a little bit of an adjustment. Once these are cooled down, they are good to go. You can put them in a container and store them in the fridge for up to a week, but they're so delicious, I think that they'll get gobbled up right away. So for breakfast, I would just serve this as something that is perfect for on the go. Grab a couple, head out the door, whatever you need. Or you could zhuzh it up and have it with yogurt and fresh berries, or add it to any of your favorite breakfast options. It's just a really fun way to get a bunch of nutrients in and, I don't know, have a yummy breakfast or a yummy snack. So thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen today. I'm gonna mange down on this and you have a wonderful time. They're so good. They're just like, they have a hint of sweetness. They're quite dense, so you feel like you know it's gonna be substantial. There's a little bit of crunch in there from those pecans. All right, thanks for joining me. Have a great day.